What's up, guys? Breaking news. This one is huge. The Chicago Bears are sending a 2025 sixth round draft pick to the Los Angeles Rams. Almost said St. Louis Rams for ex-Pro Bowl guard Jonah Jackson. I'm updating the terms here. I thought it was initially a fifth round pick, but it is a sixth round pick. We have it scrolling across the bottom of the screen now. I literally just made a video on this guy less than a week ago talking about why I think the Bears could potentially be interested in trading for Jonah Jackson. A lot of people have went on record saying, this guy is terrible. This guy is terrible. He was bad last year. The Rams didn't want him. I've said all along, guys, one thing about this guy. I trust Ben Johnson, our head coach, who worked with him his first 4 years in the NFL and developed this guy into a Pro Bowler, Jonah Jackson, to the Chicago Bears. I have multiple graphics on this guy. We're going to talk about what the Bears are getting in Jonah Jackson. But if you don't want to wait, I do have a video. I literally made it last week. You can go to my channel. You can look. Video on why we should trade for Jonah Jackson. But here are some of the graphics from that video I'm going to talk about. Okay, these are his last 4 seasons, right? He made the Pro Bowl. He's 28 years old. He has 3 years, 51. He signed a 3-year, $51 million contract. Only 2 years are remaining on that deal. So his age 28 and his age 29 season, okay? Over on the screen, I have his sacks and pressures allowed over the last 4 seasons. Last year, you can see he was banged up. He didn't play a lot. He only played 267 snaps. He still didn't allow a sack all season long. In 2023, he allowed 2 sacks and 27 pressures and 881 snaps. In 2022, 0 sacks, 26 pressures, and 858 snaps. And 2021 was his Pro Bowl season. He did allow 4 sacks and 35 pressures, but he started every game and played over 1,000 snaps. This is a guy who will immediately upgrade the interior of our offensive line. He's better than anyone we had on the interior last year. I would compare him kind of similarly to Tevin Jenkins. He's had an issue staying healthy, but he's a guy with a ton of upside, and he's actually been to a Pro Bowl, where Tevin Jenkins, I've always talked about how he has Pro Bowl upside, but he's never been to a Pro Bowl. I got more graphics here. So he was a 3rd round pick with the Lions in 2020. He spent his first 3 years. He spent his first years with the Lions under Ben Johnson, and then he left last year, signing that big 3-year, $51 million contract in free agency. Detroit went on to replace him with Kevin Zeitler, and now Kevin Zeitler is also going to be a free agent. We have to keep that in mind as well. It's possible we could end up having both guys. But I have heard a lot of talk about him being injured. He's injured too much. So these are his games started by year, guys. The new guard. For anyone joining late, the Bears have traded a 2025 6th round pick for Rams guard Jonah Jackson. Also, welcome in. Please hit that like button for me. But these are his games started by season, okay? He started 16 games in 2020. He started 16 games in 2021. The NFL only had 16 games a year back then as well. In 2022, he started 13. 2023 started 12. And then this year, he only started 4 games. But he did also start both of the Lions play, or he did, not the Lions, I'm sorry, the Rams. He started both of the playoff games for the Rams as well. So even though he missed a lot of time this season, he is not currently hurt. He was healthy enough to start in the playoffs, and he started the Rams' last 2 games. As far as his play, it has dropped off a bit. Over the last couple of years, his play has dropped off. That's for sure. But when you're looking at the guards that are available in free agency, Will Fries, that's a guy recovering from a broken leg who missed 12 games this year. Mekhi Becton has missed 35 games in 5 years. Aaron Banks has missed 7 starts the last 2 years. Brandon Scherf has 5+ years of missing at least 4 games. And Tevin Jenkins has missed 14 starts the last 3 years. That's one more than Jonah Jackson. There's a lot of other guys with missed games, but this is a guy who brings a ton of talent to the Chicago Bears offensive line. And it's only a 6th-round pick, guys. A 6th-round pick here. Emiliano, I got to address the super chat. I just saw it. He says Ryan Bates 2.0. No way, man. Ryan Bates has never made a Pro Bowler. Listen, when we traded for Ryan Bates, he wasn't even a starter with the Bills. He spent the entire year before as a backup. Now, Jonah Jackson is a guy, and this is where you can't get it twisted, right? Jackson is a guy who has a ton of talent. He signed that big contract, and this is what happens in free agency, guys. People get overpaid. But here's what you need. When you're going to sign someone in free agency, this is what I've talked about a lot. You need a coach on your staff that is familiar with that player. And this is exactly what I talked about over a week ago with Jonah Jackson. It's not about whether or not I think he's good enough. It's not whether or not you or anyone in the media thinks he's good enough. We have a coach on this staff that I respect more. His football opinion matters more than mine. His football opinion matters more than what anyone in the media says or what anyone covers the Bears say. And that's Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson not only was part of the team that drafted this guy, but also spent his first 4 years with him. So if anybody knows whether or not Jonah Jackson is going to fit this new offense that Ben Johnson is building, Ben Johnson would be that guy. And only trading a 6th-round pick here, whew, there's no way you can be mad about that, guys. A 6th-rounder is not going to be a starting guard unless you get incredibly lucky. Like, yes, it does happen. I do have the salary cap numbers. Hold on. So the Bears are taking on Jackson's contract as is. He's fully guaranteed a roster bonus of $8.5 million for this year, and he has his $9 million base salary. So $17 million basically is his cap hit, right? This year is pretty much fully guaranteed. So this season, he's pretty much fully guaranteed $17 million. Next season, though, just like always, Ryan Poles, he didn't structure this contract, but he's taken on a contract that has flexibility. If Jonah Jackson does not work out this season, we can cut him next year and save $17 million on the cap. So it's not, the contract isn't a huge deal. It does take down our cap space this season from around $79.5 million to roughly, I want to say, what does that put us at? 62? Puts us right around $62 million. This guy's 28 years old. Oh, good, great add-on from Blue here. Blue says supposedly it's the Steelers' 6th-rounder. So that would mean that trade officially goes down as Justin Fields for Jonah Jackson. That makes that trade look a little bit better, honestly, guys. 18 million. Listen, I got to address this guy in the chat, man. It says terrible trade. 18 million is definitely a big deal. Let me tell you guys something about Ryan Poles, because there's a lot of Ryan Poles haters out there, and people don't understand that Ryan Poles understands the market and what's going to happen in the future. Last year was a special draft for wide receivers and quarterbacks and offensive tackles. What did Ryan Poles draft? Wide receiver, offensive tackle, quarterback. Now, this year, it's stacked in defensive line. But guess what is going to happen in this year's free agency? Guards are going to be overpaid. You think some of these guards aren't going to get $18 million? You think that's not going to happen? I think it's possible Tevin Jenkins could get a cap hit that big. That's how crazy this year's free agency is going to be. I think this year there's going to be some guys that make big money. Jonah Jackson got 3 years, $51 million last year. There's going to be guys who get more than that this year that have never been to a Pro Bowl. Jonah Jackson has at least been to a Pro Bowl. He's at least put out the tape. You know that if he stays healthy for a whole season, he's a guy who's capable of going to a Pro Bowl. And he's proven he can do that. Is it guaranteed he's going to do that this season? No, it's never guaranteed on the O-line or for anybody for that matter. But this is a guy, he's only 28 years old, right in the prime of his career. And our head coach knows him better than anyone else, better than anyone in the chat, better than anyone in the national media. This is a guy who Ben Johnson knows well. He spent a ton of time with him, and he's now easily the best interior offensive lineman on our front five. And let's not go overboard with the Pro Bowl, guys. Let's talk about, yes, Mitch Trubisky been to a Pro. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, right. But this is an offensive lineman. This is a guy in the front five. It's not the same as quarterbacks. There's multiple players at this position for every team, not only 10 guys even capable of going to Pro Bowl. Quarterback's completely different. It's not even close. But this is a guy who's talented. He's entering the prime of his career. And no matter how much you think you know about his talent, I'm going to guarantee you right now, and Ben Johnson knows him better than you do. And me personally, I'm trusting Ben Johnson with this one. This is exactly what I said before, and I'm sticking to my guns with this one. If Ben Johnson thinks this is a guy that can come in and help our offensive line, then I'm 100% in on it. I trust Ben Johnson. This isn't Matt Eberflus making the calls here. This is Ben Johnson, a guy that we all respect, a guy that everyone is happy is coming to Chicago to lead this team, who put together a coaching staff that features guys like Dennis Allen, Antoine Randall, Al Harris, and Eric Bieniemy. I trust Ben Johnson. But also, just looking at the interior of our O-line, guys, this immediately fills one hole. But you can't think of it. I just mentioned his contract, right? We're able to get out of this contract after the season. So we can still draft someone for this position. It doesn't have to be a long-term option. But if he plays like he's capable of, he could be a long-term option. Why I don't understand why people are asking about physicals here, guys. I already talked about this. He's not hurt. He played in the playoffs. He was hurt earlier in the season. He got 100%, came back to full health, played at the end of the season, and then also started 2 playoff games. He's not hurt. It's not like Will Fries or Josh Simmons, who hasn't came back and played yet. This is a guy who is healthy and ready to compete right now. But it doesn't prevent the Bears from still drafting someone to develop behind him. I think this is an incredible move, guys. I got to give this a home run. Just a 6th-round pick for a guy with Pro Bowl potential, the prime of his career, a flexible contract that's not going to kill us. We're still going to be able to spend in free agency, and we're still going to be able to get out of the contract next season if he doesn't work out. This move fits what Ryan Poles likes to do, and this is perfect for what I want the Bears to do this offseason. Now, that scratched off one of our biggest needs heading into next week's free agency. But we still have the flexibility here to go after a guy like Drew Dahlman. We still have that flexibility. And if you have Drew Dahlman on the inside as well, or even a guy like Ryan Kelly, suddenly this offensive line starts to look a lot better. I do see chat. Everyone keeps bringing up Alex Kappa, who was just cut by Cincinnati. I am not a big fan of Alex Kappa, but I mean, if you could bring him in super cheap as depth, I'd be fine with it. But as a starter, nah, I'm not really into it. Yes, it was just a 6th-round pick, guys. A 6th-round pick for Jonah Jackson, the former Pro Bowl guard from the Detroit Lions, who is very, very familiar with Ben Johnson. And he also spent some time at center with the Rams last year. I still want this guy. I still want him at guard. I don't want him at center. I want him at guard. Stay at guard. Don't be moving around. Just be right there at guard. Let me actually double check what I'm pretty sure. Where was it? No, see, that's Last year, he played all three positions. He spent time at guard or left guard, right guard, and center. But in the previous seasons, he spent most of his time at left guard. He has 3,600 plus snaps at left guard. And this is something this is important here because when it comes to free agency, there aren't a lot of left guards. There was maybe one left guard on free agency, and that was Aaron Banks that I was a big fan of. These other guys, are mostly right guards. Will Zeitler, the other guy who played, or Kevin Zeitler, I'm sorry, the other guy who played in Detroit, he has played every single snap of his career at right guard. So he would still be a good fit here. Other guys like Will Fries is a right guard. Guys I like in the draft even, Armand Mimbu, the right tackle from Missouri that I want to play at guard. I would love to see him in the draft as well. I think that would be an incredible way to finish off that line. Great question from Baki there. That would pretty much finish the front five and give us flexibility to do whatever we want heading into the draft, right? We have Jonah Jackson at left guard now. If we sign Drew Dahlman at center and you can get Kevin Zeitler at right guard, that solidifies our front five. And then you would just want to draft someone to develop behind Kevin Zeitler because he is 35 years old. But yes, exactly what Michael said here. No matter what anyone said, we just landed a starting guard here. Jonah Jackson is a starting guard. The Rams have a ton of salary caps problems, guys. And the Rams are in a lot of problems here from going all in and going on that Super Bowl run they did and then paying all this money to Matt Stafford, trading away their draft picks for guys like Jalen Ramsey, and then also going in on Aaron Donald and all. The Rams have a lot of issues over there. They're also trading Cooper Kupp. They might release Cooper Kupp. So the Rams are just in a tough position. Now, also, I don't think Jonah Jackson really fit what the Rams were looking for. They overpaid for him in free agency, and they're just looking for a way to get out of the contract. For the Bears, Ben Johnson is familiar with them. We know what we're getting, and he's going to know how to get the best out of a guy like Jonah Jackson. So this is huge for me, guys. This is huge. I'm huge. I did have a good question here from the chat. Do you think Ashton Jenney will be at play at 10 if we can sign Dahlman and Zeitler? I think Ashton Jenney could be in play. I do think Genty is a special running back and could potentially be the best player on the board for sure. I will say, with how special this running back class is, guys, I'm leaning towards draft D-line or O-line in the first round. Even if you draft Zeitler, you can still take Armand Mimbu or Tyler Booker or Will Campbell to develop behind him. So I'm still in the favor of drafting in the trenches and then taking advantage of the depth at this year's running back class. Land a guy like Caleb Johnson or Quinshawn Judkins or Devin Neal or Travion Henderson. I just think this year's running back class is loaded. I did see reports, though, from the chat as well. The Jets have just released Davante Adams. I do not think he's a fit for the Bears. I think it's most likely going to continue to play out how it has last year. He's probably going to go wherever Aaron Rodgers goes, unless he tries to reunite with Derek Carr. But Davante Adams is at the point in his career where I think he wants to either compete for a Super Bowl or play with a quarterback that he's very familiar with. That's the biggest thing here. Ken said it right there. I think we continue attacking the trenches, guys. I think the trenches are what's most important here. But I'm going to give you guys another rundown. A lot of people have joined late. The Chicago Bears have traded a 2025 sixth-round pick for ex-Lions guard and former Pro Bowler Jonah Jackson, just 28 years old and very familiar with Ben Johnson from their time together in Detroit. I love this move, guys. I literally talked about it just a week ago. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Yeah, one point here, Keith said it here. Please, I just do not want him to go back to Green Bay. The last thing I'll say about Adams there, but go anywhere but back to Green Bay, and I'm happy with him. But this is our newest guard, guys. He's played most of his career at left guard. He has took limited snaps at center and at right guard as well. But most of his career, he's played at left guard. He could come in and play right next to Braxton Jones. He's only allowed 6 sacks in his career. This is a guy, he has 2 years, roughly $34 million remaining on his contract. We are able to get out of it next year, but this gives Ryan Poles even more flexibility heading into free agency. Now he may go after the defensive line instead of O-line. I'm curious what you guys think about this one, though. This is a guy I have seen a lot of. When I made the video about him last week, and I talked about us potentially trading for this guy, one guy I know didn't like him was Greg Gabriel. Greg Gabriel didn't like this one. He was against that move, and I've seen other people on Twitter and all over the place. I don't really care, man. Listen, I love this move, and there's nobody out there. This isn't a shot at anybody, but you can't tell me there's another guy who just makes Bears YouTube videos, even myself included, that knows more about Jonah Jackson than Ben Johnson does. That's just stupid. Anybody who's sitting there and telling you, oh, I know more about Jonah Jackson and I know this is a bad move, and they think they know more than Ben Johnson, I'm sorry, but that person is an idiot. Don't listen to them. This Ben Johnson is one of the smartest football minds in the entire NFL. Everyone that I've heard talk about Ben Johnson shares that opinion. When you go around the NFL and you ask players, coaches, scouts, general managers, you're not going to find anybody that doesn't think Ben Johnson is a smart football mind. And that's where I can't come in here and say, and this is why I already have it on documented. I talked about it before we traded for him. If Ben Johnson thinks this is a guy that has the talent to help this team, I'm all in on this move. That doesn't mean that Jonah Jackson's going to come here and be a Pro Bowl player. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean that's going to happen. But it means that Ben Johnson thinks it's possible. Now, he's also a guy who could just come in and start. And hey, we might plan. You guys remember this as well. It's something GMs do a lot. A lot of times you'll want to get someone in free agency and then still draft a player behind him. So if he doesn't work out, that guy we take in round 2 or maybe round 3, maybe a guy like Tate Ratledge or any of those young guards that are coming up, maybe even a Gray Zabel. Look, man, I know they're not idiots. I didn't mean to go on. I'm just saying it's crazy if people are trying to tell you stuff or act like they're smarter than Ben Johnson or GMs. People do it all the time. And I'm just saying that's something to me, you can't do it. Ben Johnson is unanimously viewed as one of the brightest young football minds in the whole world. So anyone who wants to question his opinion without having some kind of solid facts to back it up, I'm just dismissing it, and I'm not listening to a single word about it. But I'm moving on with that. Look at it. That guy thinks he's smarter than Poles right there. Class example right here, guys. Exactly what I'm talking about. But Max said it. A lot of people don't want to spend a top 10 pick on a guard anyway. So this gives us more flexibility here. This gives us a guy who can come in, start from day one, and let you still draft and develop a guard behind him. I trust Ben Johnson with this one, and this is a guy who has a lot of talent. We're not done with the O-line, guys. We're still heading into free agency, and we still have to attack the trenches. The offensive line has to be attacked. The defensive line has to be attacked. This does not instantly fix anything on this O-line. Look, the Rams are also getting rid of Cooper Kupp. Who cares, bro? A lot of dumb comments, guys. Come on now. The Chicago Bears are trading for Jonah Jackson, 21-year-old guard, been to a Pro Bowl. I love this move, guys. I'll take questions for a couple more minutes here, but I'm pretty much wrap this one up. This is a guy who's had some injury issues. He made a Pro Bowl in 2021, but Ben Johnson is as familiar with him as anybody in the NFL. So the Chicago Bears have a brand new guard, ex-Lions Pro Bowler Jonah Jackson. I see some new people join the chat, so I wanted to throw it in there. And yes, I did. I did call this a week ago, and I have a full breakdown on that. Go watch that video where it's more in depth, and I'm less scatterbrained. I'm not talking to chat or anything. This is a live stream, so it's not as organized. But I have a video 1 week ago where we talked about trading for Jonah Jackson. And now it comes to fruition, guys. We have a new guard on this roster, someone who's going to help stabilize the offensive line. We didn't trade any of our valuable draft picks. I thought it would at least cost at least a 5th round pick. That's why I said I thought maybe I gotta re-listen to my video. I actually might have said we could get him for a 6th round pick. Someone's got to listen to it and tell me. But it was over a week ago. But I always thought there was a chance we could get him for pretty cheap value because the Rams don't have any leverage here. The Rams already gave him the money, and the Rams have already showed their cards. They have salary cap issues. They need to get rid of Cooper Kupp. They had to restructure Matt Stafford, and they have to trade Jonah Jackson. And then we'll see what happens after that. But other people in the chat are asking about trading for Trey Smith, the possibility of signing Khalil Mack and Chase Young. I'll be talking about all these things soon, but I will talk about Trey Smith. That one's curious. The Rams did place a non-exclusive, or not the Rams. The Chiefs did place a non-exclusive tender on him, but I'd say the odds of trading him are less than 50%. There's no chance of us doing a tag and trade with Tevin Jenkins. All that stuff is crazy, and let's throw that one out. That's not happening. But what this is, yeah, I'm assuming Tev Jenkins is probably gone. That is one take from this I have not mentioned yet, but I do want to say Tevin Jenkins been one of my favorite players for a long time here in Chicago. Never reached his potential due to injuries, but I love Tevin Jenkins. I do believe Tevin Jenkins can still go on to have a great career in the NFL. I think a change of scenery might actually be what's best for Tev, and I wish Tev nothing but the best. But yeah, I do believe this move most likely signals the end of the Tevin Jenkins era in Chicago. Great comment by Raging Oracle here, though. If you can trade a 6th round pick for a former Pro Bowler, you do it. And not only that, when you can do that, and your head coach is the guy who knows him better than any other coach in the NFL, that's another major reason to maybe pull the trigger on that kind of trade. Scrolls asked a question here. Can Ben's offense be as effective without a dynamic Gibbs type running back? See, first off, I think we can get a running back like that in the draft. One guy that's really fits that bill is Travion Henderson from Ohio State, but also DeAndre Swift. If you put Swift behind a good line, he is a pretty good running back, and he's a lot better as a Jahmyr Gibbs style change of pace runner than being the guy you're running between the tackles on 1st and 2nd down. I would rather, if you're handing off to Caleb Johnson or Roshan Johnson on 1st and 2nd, and then Swift is your change of pace guy, he still has the potential to do that. Let's see. I can see us drafting a player. Yeah, I can see that as well. He did make a Pro Bowl as an alternate, but nobody ever mentions that. It's a Pro Bowl as a Pro Bowl. He still had a good year. And on offensive line, that's a lot harder to do than some of these other positions where offensive line you can get in just as by name. He was a 2nd-year guy. It was his 2nd season in the NFL on a Detroit Lions team that didn't win very many games. So it's not like he just got in like, oh, here he is. This is a guy who you're just going to give him a Pro Bowl because of this. He earned his Pro Bowl bid. So anyone trying to take away from his Pro Bowl appearance, let's go ahead and stop that now. Let's see. Any other good chats here? Yeah, it means he was a top 10 guard in the league, which is by far better than anything we had this season. And that's probably the biggest thing. I need to take a drink of water here. Gator, I also mentioned that earlier. Yep. The 6th round pick is the pick we got for Justin Fields. So it's pretty much like trading Justin Fields for Jonah Jackson. That's a good running back question there. Do I like Caleb Johnson over Omarion Hampton? I cannot say yes to that. Personally, Caleb Johnson is a guy, when you take value into that question, my answer would be yes. Whereas Omarion Hampton, you have to take in the 1st round, maybe early 2nd. If you can get Caleb Johnson in the 3rd, I would rather take Caleb Johnson in the 3rd than Omarion Hampton in the 1st. So when you add context to the question, yes. How attainable do you think Dahlman is? That's the $1 million question right now. I think it comes down to what happens the rest of this week with the Rams. Not the Rams, the Falcons. You can never predict what a team's going to do. The Falcons could go on and make some drastic moves over the next week and end up getting a deal done or franchise tagging him. But if he hits free agency, I think Drew Dahlman and or Ryan Kelly are going to be our top priority in the draft. Or not the draft, I'm sorry, free agency. Ben Johnson spoke about it when he was going around Media Row last week, talking about all the things and talking about free agency. He said repeatedly, stabilizing the center position is probably our biggest priority. And he also talked about not wanting to have a rookie center with Caleb Williams. So to me, that said, we're all in on signing a free agent center. I think it's going to come down to if it's going to be Dahlman or Ryan Kelly. I think those are the top 2 guys. There are some other options out there. You could talk about Evan Brown. You could talk about some other guys, but I think it's between those 2 guys. Drew Dahlman from the Atlanta Falcons, or now I'm losing my train of thought here, Ryan Kelly from the Indianapolis Colts. He's more of a veteran. He's over the age of 30. So Drew Dahlman to me is the number 1 target. And then Foster, I've talked about this guy as well. Josh Myers is my up-and-comer. That would be my sleeper option at center. He was Justin Fields center at Ohio State, and he spent his last 4 years with the Green Bay Packers as their starting center. Now, PFF grades him out pretty bad. They don't have him graded out as one of the top centers, but he's just 25 years old. He's an up-and-coming center. He started for 4 years. And like Foster said here, if you can sign a guy that not only makes your offensive line better, but hurts the Green Bay Packers, sign me up for that one. And then someone mentioned one of my favorite running backs. I really love Quinshon Judkins. I'm a huge fan of Quinshon Judkins. I love him. I love Caleb Johnson. I think this year's running back class is special, but this is really going to help us also develop the running game. How do we get back to running the ball, guys? We shore up the interior of this offensive line. And this is the first step towards doing this. Swift, you're acting like the Bears are going to win a lot of football games. I'm pretty sure we are going to win some games this year. I think it's time. I've been trying to hold back expectations for 3 years now because we just people didn't understand we were rebuilding and how barren of talent we were 2 years ago. But now we're a team I believe is going to turn the corner and start winning games. So keep that attitude if we do start winning. Yo, Key M78, thank you for the $5 super chat. Is Silas Bolden entering the draft this year? He's a great late round gadget play. I do not believe he entered the draft. I have not seen him. I didn't see him in anything. I do not believe so. I will double check for you though. No, he's going back. He's going back to Texas. Boop, boop, boop. I'm almost positive. I don't know. He was a senior this year. Maybe he did come out. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Hey, Keith, thank you for that great question. He's a guy, if he is coming out, I missed him. He is exciting, and he's a player who could be a late round sleeper. Foster brought up Kevin Zeitler again, and this is a great. I think Kevin Zeitler is a guy who makes a lot of sense now. If you could get two guards who have both worked with Ben Johnson and both know what it's like to put together a front five that can win games and get push off the line of scrimmage, I think that'd be great. And also, what Zeitler would do, Zeitler would allow you to draft a young guard and develop behind it. So it's hating the comment. Oh man. Let's see. I think Ben Johnson can get the most out of his play. Hey, that's a great call there, Ken. I mean, he's building a system around Caleb Williams. We've also seen a lot of questions about Micah Parsons trades. I do not think he gets traded. So I don't know about that one. Oh, look, Ken with the answer there. Silas Bolden did announce on social media that he's entering the draft. That's a late round guy to keep an eye on. He's really small, though. He's a little 5'8" receiver, but hey, as a potential punt returner or something like that, you got to keep an eye on those gadget guys. And Doug said it exactly what I was talking about there. Signing Kevin Zeitler gives you a guy who can come in and be a plug and play starter from day one, while you develop someone behind him. This is a huge move for the Bears, guys. This is a lot better than the Ryan Bates trade last year. Last year, we traded a fifth for Ryan Bates, who wasn't even a starter. This year, we trade a sixth for a guy who is a starter, a guy who has potential to be a Pro Bowl type player, and Ben Johnson knows very well. I love this trade. I think this is a home run move for the Bears, but it is not the end of fixing this offensive line. It is step one in what should be an entire offseason dedicated towards the trenches. We need more help on the O-line. We need more help on the D-line. And that is what the rest of this offseason should be about. And I'm excited, guys. I'm pumped up. Everybody in the chat, let Ben Johnson cook. Let Ryan Poles cook. Everyone in the chat, hit the like button for me. I'm going back to work. I have some more videos on the way, but I appreciate everyone coming in, stopping by. Please hit the like button for me. Let me know in the comments if you like this move or if you dislike it, because there was way too much chat. I probably missed a ton of chats today, but I love everybody. I'm pumped up like Ken is. Please hit that like button for me, and I think I'm out of here, guys. One last time, I'll say it, though, and put the graphic up on the screen. Chicago Bears have traded for Jonah Jackson, the ex-Pro Bowl guard from the Detroit Lions, who is very familiar with Ben Johnson. Welcome to Chicago, Jonah Jackson, the newest member of the Chicago Bears offensive line. I couldn't be more excited about this offseason. What a great way to kick it off. Free agency is just a week away, guys. Next week at this time, 6 days away. I was thinking it was Monday for a day. We're 6 days away from NFL free agency. Stay tuned. There's a lot more moves to come. I appreciate everyone who watched. Please hit that like button for me and bear down.